Hi everyone, my name is Phil Priestley and I'm a former police officer who served in North Yorkshire Police and in Cambridgeshire. I was a detective sergeant and a neighbourhood policing sergeant, and today I work in schools supporting young people and trying to help to keep them safe. I've been asked to make this video about the problems that we've been having with knife crime, and it's a problem that's all across the UK, but it's a local problem too. And you'll hear a lot about London, Birmingham, Manchester, but sadly, the impact of knife crime is being felt in Cambridge and in the surrounding villages of South and East Cambridgeshire too. You're going to get a lot of people talking to you because, they're worried. A lot of people telling you not to carry knives, how it will ruin your life. The people who tell you these things, they're not wrong. But I imagine that it's probably quite jarring, actually, to be spoken to that way, particularly if you would never contemplate doing something of that nature. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the consequences too, because I feel like I'm obliged to in a video of this nature, but I actually want to look at this from a slightly different angle while I've got the opportunity. You see, I appreciate that if this video gets seen by 200 people in a school hall, there might literally only be one person who's on the cusp of this form of criminality. So literally 99.5% of the people watching would never even contemplate it. And yet you still need to hear this message. And I think it's fair enough that you ask the question, why? Well, actually, solving this problem is about a change in culture around knives and about weapon violence collectively. When one person picks up a knife, I'd suggest that there's at least one more person close to them who knows about it. And in reality, there may be more. There may be 5 or 6 people who believe that something is going awry, and maybe 10 or 15 who suspect that something's not right. But there's a pervasive culture of silence that stops these people from coming forward and sharing. And that's maybe 20 people. So now 10% of the school hall who could do something positive to protect their community and prevent this situation from escalating. So we have this no snitching culture, and I understand that. It's enforced by a fear of consequences, of being isolated and rejected by your peer group, by your friends, of being identified and bullied online, maybe making yourself a target for something that you feel is none of your business. Let's talk about this a little bit, because back in 1979, and I realize that seems like an awful long time ago, more than 31,000 people were killed or seriously injured on the roads because of drink drivers. Culturally, people did drink and drive, and it was acceptable, but yet people lost their lives. And as a country, we had to change our attitude to that. And gradually, over a period of time, we began to see how selfish drink driving was, and it became an unacceptable thing to do, and it became acceptable to report drink drivers. In 2024, the number of people killed or injured on our roads as a consequence of drink drivers has fallen to 6,000. That's still too many people, but it's only 20% of the number from 1979. And that number has fallen year on year, and we expect it to continue to fall. It was exceptionally important that we did something about drink driving, and it's exceptionally important that we do something about knife crime. The issue is that we know the biggest demographic impacted by knife crime is the age group between 14 years and 21 years, and predominantly We're talking about boys and young men too, although not exclusively. Just like smoking and vaping, if you don't start in that window between 14 and 21 years, guys, you're safe. It's just not going to happen. So, what is it about that window? Well, that's the window when you become more susceptible to peer influence, and you're more likely to do something rash. You're more likely to join a gang or an organized crime group. So there's really no point in me making this video and sending it to the elderly care home. Those guys can be pretty mean sometimes, but they're not the solution to this problem. You are. Now, just like drugs, when people get into smoking a lot of weed, the weed gets mistaken for the problem. Don't get me wrong, weed is definitely not a good choice. It's a negative choice, and it's really, really bad for your mental health and your neurological development. But actually, deciding to smoke weed is usually the symptom of a deeper issue. And it's the deeper issue that needs to be dealt with. People smoke weed because of something. Knife crime is like that. People don't pick up a knife thinking, this could be fun, I'll give this a try. Usually there's a deeper issue. Fear is a common one. Insecurity, mental health, low self-esteem. Most people who pick up weapons and carry on a regular basis are not feeling very well in themselves. They usually have complicated and traumatic lives, and they can suffer with poor levels of attachment to their families, have a hard time communicating, and might not even recognize when they're suffering from feelings of aggression. Radicalization can come in many forms: religious, political, criminal. The negative influences of core role models that come into people's lives is very serious, and such people can arrive in people's lives to exploit them. I've previously arrested people who cried when they were arrested, and the reason why they cried was because they felt like their ordeal was over. They wouldn't have to play the role that they'd created for themselves any longer. I arrested one guy who I met years later, and believe it or not, he was 14 when I arrested him. And when I met him years later, he was cutting my hair, and he apologized to me right there and then and told me what a dark place he was in mentally and how bad things had got for him. The truth is, if someone was suicidal and you knew it, you'd talk to somebody discreetly about getting them some help and intervention. You wouldn't turn a blind eye and just let them carry on. If you see something that makes you suspect that someone is carrying a knife, or you know something that makes you believe that that's the case, you need to treat that person as if they're going through a mental health crisis. You do not know what is going on beneath the surface for that person, and I guarantee you this: they need your help. I'm not telling you to approach them. In fact, don't approach them. Just go to a trusted adult in school, a member of your safeguarding team, a pastoral leader, a member of the SLT, whoever it is that you choose. Talk to them privately, explain how nervous you feel about sharing the information, and leave it with them. That's all you need to do. That is what changing the culture around knife crime looks like. It protects you, it protects the community, and it protects them. You're doing them a potentially life-saving favor that could save them from being arrested, prosecuted, seriously hurt, or killed. I said that I'd talk a little bit about consequences, and I feel like I really have to. It is a crime to carry a knife. It's an offensive weapon. You can be arrested just for carrying one. Carrying a knife on school premises is an aggravated crime. It's even worse than simply carrying one in a public place. All of these things will put you in front of a youth court and could result in a number of consequences if you're prosecuted, not least of which is imprisonment. Using a knife to harm someone or kill someone is obviously a serious offence that would result in a Crown Court prosecution with the expectation of imprisonment for several years. The worst thing about knife crime is that people die. People are traumatized by it for life. And if they survive, they're usually scarred or disfigured. It traumatizes the person who commits the crime as well as the person who is the victim of the crime. You can be expelled from school permanently. You are less likely to pass your exams. You are probably not going to be allowed to travel internationally. You'd be barred from a significant number of career options. If I'm talking to you, if you're the person thinking about carrying a knife, or if you already do, you need to reach out for help. It's not just about putting down the knife, although that's a really great start. You need to talk to somebody about the reasons why you made your choices. Stop and reflect. We don't want to criminalize young people. We want to help you. For everyone else, that 99.5%, thank you for listening to the message. Help to keep your community safe. If you have any information to pass to your school, do it discreetly and in confidence. You could be the person who saves a life or multiple lives. So stay safe, say no to knives, and I hope that you can look forward to having a fantastic summer. Cheers, guys. Bye for now.